I learned that grief will humble you, that there's not enough success in the world to make you forget that your loved ones are dead. I know that I've been an asshole to all of my friends since my brother died. That there's a girl in Detroit named Sharice that I hadn't talked to in 3 years prior to the night he was murdered, and she still showed up to the crime scene before his body was even removed from the concrete. She drank her liver into the darkest of holes and listened to the song Drunk in Love with Me for 56 days straight. And the first time I felt well enough to go outside sober and sleep in the dark again, I stopped answering her phone calls. Sharice, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Even though there's a good fucking excuse for it, I know sometimes we become the haunted and the hunter, the monster that we are running from and the monster that we are becoming. I know that your phone has been ringing nonstop since the overdose, since your mother passed, since your relapse, since the surgery, since your lover left, since the very moment it all happened, and you've been hitting the ignore button and telling yourself that nobody cares about you. And I get it. Grief is more contagious than joy. It is much easier to share sadness than it is to be responsible for making someone else happy. Easier to hand our baggage to the people we love than move through the world freely. It's the reason I sat in my car and cried when I found out Sharice was pregnant instead of sending her a congratulations message. It's the reason I left my mother at home to mourn the death of her only son while I went out on the road to perform Poem for Strangers, because hurt people is so damn cliche but true, because you know that you can't be held accountable for anything you do under the influence of grief, and that you can blame anything on the dead, so you do. You become the excuse and the excused, the burning building and the fire, expecting to be rescued and left alone until you are left alone, until you can no longer blame your behavior on your pain, until you have to be good to your friends again, until you have to send apologies years later, until you hear someone that you love tell you that they can't forgive you, and you feel success and empty in the same body, until you are humbled, until you realize that you are not the only one, that we are all hurting, and as a result hurting each other, until you learn to be humble, until you learn to be grieving and also be gracious, until you learn that this shit was never just about you. Thank you, Button Poetry. Thank you.